I'm using the Easy Complete quilt template that coordinates with this in terms of the sash size. So this is going to produce a 5/8 of an inch sash, and the number of sides. So that's going to be 4 sides. That's going to be a rectangular piece. There are diagonal lines with numbers on them. I'm going to try and position this top part in the center, and I'm going to verify it's centered by looking at these diagonal lines on the right. They should fall on the edge of the fabric. If number 3 falls on this edge of the fabric, line number 3, ideally number 3 should fall on this side of the template onto this side of the fabric. If they don't, adjust the template so that these numbers match, and then just position this at the edge of the fabric, even if it means it's not looking exactly centered to you. If these numbers are correct, this will be centered, and then install your dots. This is a really good example. This line number 3 lines up with the blue edge of the fabric, and this line number 3 lines up with it over here. So this is going to be the center of my beveled edge. And I'm just going to continue doing that on all the pieces until all of them are marked, just like the first 2 I've done. When making a windmill table topper, only 1/2 of each rectangle will be joined to the square center. It's important to find and mark the center of each rectangle. This center can also be used for cross mark guides when you're embroidering the piece, if you prefer to do that instead of traditional pad stitching. I'm going to embroider these pieces instead of pad stitching them. I'm going to fold this way and get my second cross mark. Now, in addition to cross marks, I know that this quilt piece has to be positioned up this way. So I'm going to draw that arrow at the very top of my cross mark. Next, install stitching guidelines. Stitching guides are lines that run parallel to the finished edges of each quilt block. Stitching lines are formed by joining the outermost dots to one another. I call it joining the top dot to top dot. When all my pieces have been marked, I position the lined quilt back so all their arrows are pointing in the same direction, because this is how the windmill is built. And notice half of the rectangle is on the center square and the other half is on the edge of a rectangle. Now all the arrows are up, and so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to draw joining marks only at the top of the center line that meets the square. I'm not going to draw the joining marks down here, and that will help me join this rectangle to the square later on. To install these joining marks, you take your Easy Complete quilt template, and there are these dashed lines. The dashed line represent the stitching line placements. So if you line up the stitching line with the stitching line that you drew from dot to dot, and then the center line, you can install these dots, and they will help you join this quilt rectangle to this quilt square. And the dots to dots only have to be on the right hand side of the center line. They should be positioned on the part of the rectangle that will be joined to the center square. Because I used a blue marking pen to make all of my other lines, I'm going to use a red marking pen to indicate these dots. This will also help me position the fabric in the embroidery machine, so I know this is going to be towards the center square. So the dashed line is on the blue line drawn for stitching, and the center line. And then all I have to do is put these dots to the right hand side of that.